Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel where I talk about movies. And today I'm going to continue on with a short three-film miniseries on films starring Nicole Kidman. So my previous video was on The Portrait of a Lady, and my next one will be Stoker. But today I'm going to talk about The Others. And this is a film from 2001, directed by Alejandro Amenabar. And it's a recent Criterion October 2023 release in 4K and Blu-ray. So as I'm filming this in November, if you're watching it in November 2023 in the US, Barnes & Noble's sale is ongoing, so this would be available at half price. So The Others is a film very much of a ghost story. It's set in a isolated country manor. It's a haunted house story. We're in 1945, and Nicole Kidman has a killer. This is, in fact, a wig, as we learn in the syllabus, but it's very effective. Very much sets the look of the film. But we're supposed to be in the Isle of Jersey, and in 1945. So this is the end of World War II, and it's implied that the Germans who occupied Jersey through World War II had left. And Nicole Kidman, living in this country mansion with her two small children, her husband has gone off to war and he has not returned, and she has not heard what happened to him. So they're living there alone, and we learn that these two children have become allergic to sunlight. So there is the mother is desperate to keep these children in darkness, and so the shades have to be drawn throughout the rooms of the house before the children can enter any room. And there's no servants. It's implied that Nicole Kidman says they've disappeared, but new servants suddenly arrive: a housekeeper, a gardener, and a maid. And the maid herself is somewhat ghostly. She is mute, and she looks like she has endured a traumatic event. So we have very much of an atmospheric film, very moody. It's slow, has a quiet build-up. The mother is in a desperate situation, desperate to keep her children out of the sunlight to save their lives. And this desperation often borders into hysteria. There's very good scenes between the mother and the chief housekeeper, who tries to keep her calm, and especially with her relationship with her two children, which I say is sometimes that borders on hysteria. So a film of this sort, a very claustrophobic film, 90% probably interiors with these 6 characters. You need a great cast, and there's an excellent cast here. The housekeeper, played by Fionnuala Flanagan. She, a long-time Irish actress, but she spent much of her, she's still with us, has spent most of her career in the U.S. on American television series. I did not recognize her, but she is certainly very effective in this role, and very effective in her scenes with Nicole Kidman. And Eric Sykes plays the gardener, and I did not know him either, but in British television, he is a big star. He's been a big star, an English comedian going back to the 60s and 70s, sort of a beloved figure. And so very deliberate and effective casting, because they had to give the sense that this was, this is a film actually set in an English location for English audiences, because it was actually filmed. The house was on the outskirts of Madrid. The interiors were filmed in a Madrid studio. Alekina Mann plays the 10-year-old daughter who sees the ghosts, and clashes with her mother, because the mother, a devout Catholic, does not believe that there is such a thing as ghosts. She's very good. James Bentley plays her younger brother. He's very good as well, and he himself has a sort of ghostly presence as well. It always amazes me how directors can get such effective performances out of little kids. The result is on the screen, but in the commentary, we hear about all the problems that the director had as far as getting the correct performance of these little kids who had very short attention spans. So a great cast, but you know, in the end, this is a vehicle. This is a star vehicle for Nicole Kidman, and boy, does she deliver here. This is like a classical role for a Hollywood movie star, and it's very much in the supplements. Amanabar says that Kidman combines the elegance of Grace Kelly with the determination of Vivian Leigh in Gone with the Wind. And I was reminded in this movie of Nicole Kidman's 1988 movie Dead Calm, which was the first movie where she really came into prominence here in the U.S., and where she has that sort of steely determination. And she'll get there, especially when she's running around the house chasing after ghosts. But I think most viewers are probably going to be most reminded of a 1960 film, The Innocents with Deborah Kerr. It's a very similar type story in which we have, in this case, Deborah Kerr playing a governess to two young children, her relationship with those two children as she begins to see ghosts. And you could very much see Nicole Kidman also playing this part in The Innocents, which is based on a Henry James short story, The Turn of the Screw, which has been made into a film several times. And the last film I talked about with Nicole Kidman was Portrait of a Lady, one of Henry James's best novels. And really, Nicole Kidman is, among other things, she is the ideal Henry James heroine. She could play just about any female part in Henry James's work, adaptations of his work. So we get a commentary from Amanabar, and it's one of those director commentaries. I'm not particularly crazy about director commentaries, and this one, like most, it gives away all the secrets of the movie in the sense of if you were a filmmaker and you wanted to know how to make a film, Amanabar is going to tell you how he made this film. All the little things that came up, why he decided to do this instead of that, why he cut out certain scenes. And he also, which I thought was very interesting, in that he describes all the elements, all the references in the film to other films. I was watching a recent podcast with Eddie Muller in which he was talking about, as far as noir and neo-noir, modernism versus postmodernism. What's the difference? Modernism is when artists had original ideas and explored those original ideas. Postmodernism is when there are no more original ideas and you basically make movies that are tributes to other movies and that you've experienced in the past. And boy, does Amanabar go through the gamut. He said, oh, well, this scene is from Night of the Hunter. This scene I was thinking of To Kill a Mockingbird. There's probably at least 15 movies that he acknowledges references to. And in particular, films that scared him when he was a kid, including The Changing. The Changing, he said, well, here's a shot out of The Changing. Here's a shot out of Hitchcock. Hitchcock is very much in evidence throughout this film. That has a very classical style as well. This is not the camera doesn't move a lot, but it is very much dependent on the star, the Nicole Kidman. She has to really bring the audience into the film, and because she's a very complex figure, and boy, I think she gives a great performance. That as Amanabar says, Vivian Leigh and Grace Kelly, and would Hitchcock love to have had Nicole Kidman to make movies with? I think he would have made half a dozen with Nicole Kidman were Hitchcock around today. So And he also, and Menabar also discusses the fears that he had when he was a little child. And he does bring some of those instances of fear that he felt as a child into some of the scenes in the film, which I thought was kind of interesting. Now, how did Nicole Kidman get to make a movie with a Spanish director, Almodovar? Its two previous films were made in Spain, and but Tom Cruise, who is still married to Nicole Kidman at the time, he saw his previous film, which was kind of a variation. I've never seen it, but Bart describes it as a kind of variation of Vertigo. Cruise was a big admirer of it, and he bought the property to remake it as an American film, which he did as Vanilla Sky. But he had the, he said, what other things you working on? So Cruise had the copy of the script, and Nicole Kidman loved it and decided that she wanted to make the movie. But then she had second thoughts later on. Now, they don't cover this in the supplements here, but I am reading a biography of Nicole Kidman by David Thompson, and she is quoted in this biography as saying that she didn't really want to play this part. She agreed to do it, but then she had two young kids. There are such intense emotional scenes between the mother and the two young kids. She didn't want to go through with it. She wanted, she tried to get Julianne Moore to play the part, but the producers of the others, they demand, you've signed for it, you're going to have to play it. But one thing you can depend on with Nicole Kidman is she's going to get, once she's doing a role, she gives a total commitment to the part. So we do also get a pamphlet here, a fold-out pamphlet, where the artwork is very similar to the artwork on the cover. And so we don't get any really good shots, but this indeed is Alakina Mann, who plays the oldest daughter, who is really good in this film. Okay, so that's the others, and I'm really kind of glad I've been doing this Nicole Kidman series. There's lots of other movies, including Moulin Rouge, including The Hours that I could have done. So after this series, if I'm still doing videos next year, I might be doing another Nicole Kidman series. Okay, thanks a lot for everybody who managed to listen. I do appreciate it. Comments are welcome. Take care.